Welcome everybody to a 1-hour rebellion. Been a couple months since I've had a chance to record, and haven't been playing that much either, to tell you the truth. As we all know, this game takes several hours commitment, and then editing takes even longer than that. So anyway, got a game I recently played here with Doobie or Chalky on Tabletop Sim here. So Imperials, and I got a heck of a setup here. Loyal Mandalore and Loyal Megiddo, and no Celeste, no Rhodia, and both Mustafar and Coruscant are subjugated. So what does that mean? Like, what am I thinking right now? If I am a Imperial player, I'm thinking I probably sabotage Corellia, or if I'm a Rebel player, I'm thinking I'm probably sabotage Corellia and infiltrate on Mustafar. Makes it hard for me to get ships. And then if I'm lucky enough to pull, Mothma's card or something to get me some extra Mon-Cals, that seems like it would be a pretty big space game. So if that's the case and it's going to be a space game, then, where do you want to put your base if that's the case? Probably not right next to the Death Star. I don't know. That's sort of my initial thoughts on here. I don't love this deployment. Not having Celeste and not having Rhodia makes it really hard to get to the corners of the map. You have to spend so much effort kind of going to the middle first that it can be a little bit of a challenge here. So you can see I'm taking a look at the build queue right now, and I make a comment that I've got lots of TIE fighters and no capital ships here. So probably, let's see, what do I draw? Homing beacon and secret weapons. Research, which, secret weapons might be okay if I try to pull a Superstar Destroyer or something along that lines, but I have been on a rule by fear kick recently. So I'll go ahead and put Tarkin on a card. That threatens that he might be on fear will keep them in line. So, Doobie will have to play a little bit honest to that here. So Riken starts off with a sabotage in Corellia. That makes sense because I have to move that fleet, can't afford to block it. And I make my first of many mistakes this game by moving Tagge to Celeste. So if I'm trying to threaten that Tarkin has fear will keep them in line, I should be moving Vader or probably the Emperor there. Because I move Tagge, it kind of tells him that I'm not going to be on R&D, because what would I be R&Ding? It's not like he was going to sabotage Megiddo. So most likely it's rule by fear. So then he does what he needs to do, which is to put Dodonna on Mustafar with infiltrate. That's a really good thing to do, because if Tarkin is on rule by fear, then he is going to have to roll against Dodonna if I were to try to gain an assault carrier there. So since Dodonna's there, I kind of have to move Vader to Ord to get a ATST, or not an ATST, a assault carrier. Now, he's got Leia here, and I'm actually thinking he'll probably keep Leia back to block whatever Tarkin's on. Even though it would be a 2v4, that's not terrible odds. Or maybe 2v3. It might make sense to rule by fear in Ord, but I'm actually planning on trying to rule by fear in blue systems to try to get some ships on the map. So I'll go ahead and move Tarkin to subjugate Corellia, and then I will rule by fear on Mon-Cal unopposed. So, I don't know, not a great first turn. Doesn't feel terrible, but doesn't feel great. So where are some possible base locations? Well, actually, let's do this cleanup first. I happen to draw Celeste, which feels terrible because I just moved there. Yavin's fine. And then let's take a look at the map with where I moved and where the base could be. So one possibility is Endor, maybe Dagobah, Ryloth, Tatooine, Nal Hutta, Dantooine, Dathomir maybe. Alright, so I got a lot of ground to cover. I pull Krennic with Lord Vader's orders, which lets me look at the top 3 cards. This is where I make some other mistakes here in the future. So I've got cut supply lines and regional aid. So a good strategy with Krennic when you have mismatch objectives is to put them in a way where you can pay attention to what they grab. So I put regional aid on top and Death Star plans. That means if he takes a level 2, I know he's got the Death Star plans and I have to protect the Death Star. If he does not take Death Star plans, then I know it's going to be a while and I don't need to protect the Death Star right away. So I like early Krennic for that reason. Okay, so he deploys in Naboo, which means he's probably going after a kill in Celeste. So I'll go ahead and put a shield bunker on Celeste. That will, and a TIE Striker. That will probably deter him from attacking. If he were to attack with that setup, I'd use the Striker card to wipe out a unit. And then I'd use the shield bunker card to try to save a couple, assuming he's planning on doing a crippling blow, probably. It may not work. Shield bunker can only save 2 hit points, because if I save all 3, then the shield bunker dies, and then that's a crippling blow. So, I don't know. Or I guess maybe I could try to do a capture if he attacked, but more likely just kill a unit. Alright, he's got Cassian with K2SO, which is on Leia. And then Leia back to block. So what do I do here? Looks like I'm going with the Rule by Fear plan and also a research and develop. Now, I think for a while here, because, what I'm initially planning on doing is putting Tarkin on Corellia, and then ruling by fear, and then I'm thinking he will block rule by fear, at which point I can capture Leia and then do an R&D. Although I think about that a little bit, and running R&D is a little bit risky, because if I get blocked, even if I'm rolling 4v2, I could easily get blocked, then the R&D is wasted, and the capture is not a guarantee either, because, well, it's just not. So I decide to put Tarkin up on Mon Cal, and this is where I make another mistake here, because you'll see with my mission selection, what I should be doing is, just doing the rule by fear. I don't think I need the R&D, and I don't think I need the capture. But I keep R&D, or I keep Emperor on Rule by Fear, and I put Vader on Capture. I don't really know why I'm thinking Capture. I mean, I do have Homing Beacon, and I do have Krennic, and I feel like the bases could be anywhere right now, so, Dubes has a habit of going after the Death Star, so it wouldn't be crazy to put the base in Dantooine, especially if you decide to go after the Death Star. So anyway, he opens by retreating to Geonosis, which makes sense because, again, crippling blow is going to be hard to score there with the shield bunker. So now I kind of have a free mission since Leia's not blocking anything. So I should be ruling by fear here in Mon Cal. That seems to be the right thing to do. And then, he probably is assuming I'm on capture, so we'll see if he plays around that at all. So he's going to sabotage Celeste. So why Celeste? That makes me think that the base might be in Dagobah, Hoth, or Endor. Because oftentimes rebels will sabotage kind of around where the base is. And right now we have a sabotage in Corellia and a sabotage in Celeste. anyway, I decide to charge after the rebels and head to Naboo with both Star Destroyers. Both Star Destroyers might seem like a little overcommitment, but the reality is they're still, I need them in the middle of the map, so that's probably fine. Then we've got an infiltrate. Now, this is where I make another mistake. So he keeps the Death Star plans on top, and I know this. I actually write regional aid next to my laptop, like in my notepads, but I didn't bother to indicate what I was writing down. So I wrote regional aid, I think because that's the one he put on the bottom. And then later in the game, I look at it and realize that, anyway, it's dumb. So right now, I do know it's the Death Star plans that he grabbed. So I'm trying to get the Death Star in a better, less exposed position. Put some extra TIE fighters on there, put an assault carrier on there, make sure the base isn't in Alderaan. He's being sneaky. I can move. My thought is I'll move the Death Star either back to Coruscant or up to Mandalore is my game plan right now. So I don't want it to be sitting on Ord and then getting sabotaged, or wandering into Megiddo and then getting picked off by a Dantooine base. So that's it. And then he plays Secret Plans, and then he puts cut supply lines on the bottom here, and everything else is jumbled. So he may not have Death Star plans at the top, but it's reasonable to assume he is going to have Death Star plans at the top. Then I try for a capture on Riken and fail. Okay, 3-on-1 did not work. Or maybe I tried it on Cassian. Yeah, I think I tried it on Cassian. And sometimes that's how the rolls go. So, again, I'm not really sure that was a good play because, the captured Cassian would have been sitting on top of a sabotaged system with only a shield bunker. So Madine could clear that off, a sabotage could clear it off, a rescue could clear it off, all sorts of things. All right, I draw Geonosis and Rhodia for my probes, not particularly helpful there. And then here I have a choice between Veers and Krennic's Finest, and I think the only time Veers is better is if you have Planetary Conquest. So I'm going to go ahead and take Krennic's Finest. And then with my probes, I have just a couple of choices, basically Celeste or Geonosis. Since I'm heading up towards the Rebels anyway, I'll go ahead and pick Geonosis. And then sitting with just Tagge's card in reserve right now. And the Rebels here pick... Who do they pick? I think they pick Madine, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that seems right. All right, deploying. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know where to deploy that, where the right place to deploy that assault carrier is. I put it on Dantooine with the idea of, I know the Death Star is in danger, so maybe I should check to make sure if it's in Dantooine, so I know whether or not I can move the Death Star back to Coruscant, or if I can move it up to Mandalore. I don't know. All right, so Rebels have Cassian back, it looks like, or maybe that's Leia. One of them back. And then I decide to just run loyalty, so trade negotiations, address delays, a rule by fear, and then looks like I'm going to try another capture. Apparently I want to get, I'm thinking I can do a homing beacon and a interrogation combo if I get another good leader. So the idea is you capture a leader this turn, you interrogate droidum next turn, and then do a homing beacon. So when they do the interrogation droid, they have to identify 3 planets, and then the homing beacon basically gives the base away. I do have a game where I pull that combo off. It's in the channel. I think it's called So Much Capture. So if you want to check that one out, that's cool. All right, Cassian takes the folks back to Ryloth. Okay, apparently we don't want to have a giant Imperial confrontation. That makes sense. I do have to stop off in Utapau. But I decide to use Tagge to go to Bespin here. And why do I do that? So I'm a little bit worried about hit and run here because he's got Maydeen, and Maydeen runs hit and run. And I was trying to think, okay, which assault carrier is worst case scenario if they hit and run it? And to me, it would be in Mustafar, because then if that happened, then if that happens, then I can't check Endor or Hoth. And I also can't prevent him from getting a speeder in Bespin. He's already getting one from Bothawi. So anyway, Bespin seemed fine. Vader's got to go to Utapau anyway. And here's where I think that capture is not a great mission to be running, because I would like an extra movement here, and I'm running too many missions. So, is what it is. So Vader takes Utapau. And then my plan here is to try to minimize those speeder productions. So the Emperor is going to run trade negotiations on Bothawi. I'll try to rule by fear in a blue square. Try to pull off a capture. I don't know. We'll see. All right, Mothma's running Build Alliance in Mustafar, and at this point, that seems like they're trying to bait me into doing a capture there and then doing an Incite Rebellion, or maybe a hit and run or something there too. That's a pretty tough spot to capture. Chalky is a very difficult opponent to pull capture combos off, and I should know better that because the system is, there's so many unexplored systems, I really should be moving here. Krennic is addressing delays, and I can go ahead and run that now because sabotage is on the board. Turns out Leia is running an Incite Rebellion, which means they probably have seize control. All right. So if Dubes took seize control last turn, it means that the Death Star plans are coming up with this next interrogation, or this next infiltration here that he's probably running, although maybe not. He might not be running infiltrate. That's the nice thing about stolen plans, is if you have good objectives, you don't need to infiltrate. Yeah, he does pull seize control here. Oh, and I see Dodonna at the beginning of the turn played his starting action card, which is why he's got 2 level 2 objectives in there. All right. So seize control scored. He probably still has Death Star plans. Nobody to block those, so I'll go ahead and remove the speeder from Bothawi. We'll see what Maydeen's on. I assume it's a hit and run, but maybe infiltrate. Probably hit and run. And what else is going on this map? So again, just keeping an eye on the base. Really haven't eliminated any areas right now. And it is it's a hit and run. So I'll try to capture Maydeen here, because he's the only person I can capture. I roll 2 and he rolls 3, so it doesn't work, which is disappointing. And then I'll rule by fear over in Utapau, and I'll remove rebel loyalty out of there. So removed 1 rebel loyalty in Mon Cal, 1 rebel loyalty in Utapau. Kind of a long process to get some Star Destroyers on the map, but the address delay did help, so that was nice. All right, end of the turn. Let's see how we do here. So I drew interrogation and make an example. All right, pretty terrible cards, especially because I can't pull off a capture. But that's okay. And then I did get Hoth in my probe draw, so that's nice. I still have to check Endor, but at least I don't have to check Endor and Hoth. And then now I have a choice where this is my third major mistake of the game. So I can take Gerard with fully operational, which is a good Death Star defense card, especially because I only have one bunker I can build. But I take Blindside with Boba Fett. I have no idea why, because I'm thinking I have to pull off the homing beacon combo, but he has so many places that he can rehide the base, and I don't have anybody captured, so I don't know what I'm doing there. I should be taking Gerard because I know he's got Death Star plans, and I know I'm only building one shield bunker, and I know he has Medine. So, and Medine's card is destroy a 3 ground strength unit during the assignment phase, so he can just wipe the shield bunker off the map and then open with plan the assault. Oh, and he took Luke Skywalker too for his hero. So everything about that says Death Star run. So I should have moved the Death Star to safety last turn. I should be putting this shield bunker on the Death Star. And instead, I put it in Bespin because there's a Y-Wing in Mustafar, and I'm thinking to myself, I need to go check Endor. So, okay, I guess. But to be totally honest right now, I'm actually not even paying attention to the fact that the Death Star is in trouble because I'm playing badly, or at least thinking badly. I don't really know why. This game had I was paying pretty close attention. You know, I mean, you know how it goes sometimes with kids and all that, you get distracted. But anyway, the Death Star is in a lot of danger right now, and I'm just kind of willy-nillying around. So had I put a bunker there, sure, Medine could have wiped it. But had I selected Gerard, he's only got one Nebulon in the base and a handful of fighters, so he'd have to bring pretty much everything. And if he did that, then I could kill the Nebulon and have a chance to kill a fighter or all of the fighters, or he'd have to commit more. I don't know. Anyway, enough of that. So right now, the only thing I'm thinking about is homing beacon and interrogation droid. And I don't know if I edited this piece out or not, but I go through a phase where I throw basically all my capture cards down, and I have this crazy scheme of like, okay, I'm going to move to Geonosis and capture there, and then I'll homing beacon, and then I'll recapture with a, you know, I don't know. I probably spent 10 minutes setting this turn up, and it looks like I took all the homing beacon nonsense out there, and I just go back to, you know, let's capture and gather intel. Gathering intel because I need some probes because I don't know where the base is, and then a rule by fear. And what I should be doing is thinking, oh my God, why am I not protecting the Death Star? Because he's got Death Star plans and Luke. But I guess he may not have planned the assault. And I didn't even put a shield bunker there. So really not too sure what I'm doing. So anyway, and he's got Dodonna and Luke on a mission together. So for you newer players, if you are playing Rebels and your Imperial player is not protecting the Death Star, you can hit it with 1 in a million with Luke Skywalker's card and Dodonna, and it's basically an auto kill. Now, he's only bringing 3 starfighters and a Nebulon because he can play the Nebulon card here, which removes 2 damage off a single fighter, which means I need 9 hits on, 12 dice. Now, I load 2 up with the TIE Fighter card, and he heals 1 of them, and then I basically whiff here. I would need so many crits to be able to do anything here. And then as long as 1 starfighter survives, you can drop 1 in a million and get 2 objective points right there. Again, had I had Ger Gerard, I could have, I wouldn't have been able to oppose the mission, but when the Death Star trench run happened, I could use Gerard's card to wipe the Nebulon, and then he'd still have probably 4 or 5 fighters, and he might flip the combat, or he might block black hits or whatever, so it's definitely not a guarantee that I get the Death Star, but it would have at least been nice to put up a little bit of a fight, because now Death Star is dead, and I killed 1 X-Wing. And he did not kill my assault carrier, which is nice, but he's going to retreat to... he can go to Kashyyyk, or he can go to Corellia, and he chooses to go to... Or he could go to Cato, and he chooses to go to Corellia. So why would he go to Corellia? Probably to set up threaten the core, or either threaten the core or Heart of the Empire. I mean, to be fair, Cato's not that much better of a spot. And now, because I played like such an idiot, I am just tilted. So I'm going to do a gather intel, because that's what I put Boba Fett on instead of picking somebody that could defend the Death Star. Leia attempts to block. This, I think, is a mistake from Chalky, because the gather intel is only 1 probe here. It would have been 2 with the Death Star run had he not done that, but it was only 1, and then it didn't work either. So I draw Dagobah. That's nice, because Dagobah was a realistic spot for the base, I think. So now I need to check Endor next before that assault carrier gets hit and ran. Okay, he's going to do a infiltrate. And at this point, covert ops. Or no, infiltrate. Nope, covert ops. So he's just rifling through that deck super efficiently. I try to run a capture on Leia here, but I can't because there's no units there. So here's mistake number 4. I attack with Vader with the assault carrier. Again, what am I doing? Like, I'm not running any torture missions. I don't need to capture somebody this turn. So now I put Vader at risk because I've only got 2 stormtroopers there against his 2 stormtroopers, and I could easily get confronted. I'm guaranteed going to lose my assault carrier to a Y-Wing. But he actually only plays ion cannon for 1 instead of the Y-Wing card. We'll talk about that here in a second. But a pretty good chance of losing my assault carrier. And then on top of that, I have a pretty good chance of getting Vader killed too by confrontation. So he kills my assault carrier with a crit. And then he's got a 60% chance to kill. So mistake number 5, I should be flipping the combat here because I don't have any block black hits cards. So if I flip the combat, then at least I can roll a heal with 4 dice, and then I'm in pretty good shape. But instead I do a damage. I don't know why. I mean, I could have played him opposing presence and made him play a card first so I could see whether or not he was doing a confrontation. I do damage, which is fine. And he rolls 1 hit and a heal. So lucky me. There's one guy left, which he may keep that guy alive. I don't know. And Vader survived confrontation, and he could have killed Boba too if he wanted to do it that way. But yeah, I got super lucky there. But now I don't have an assault carrier. I already drew the Dagobah card, and I have Hoth. I just needed to check Endor. So again, if something goes wrong in this game, don't just start throwing your cards around on the table, which is, I think, what I'm doing here. So Vader, luckily, is still alive. Mustafar is blockaded because all my troops are dead. And Bespin is vulnerable. Endor is not clear. So where else can the base be right now? All the same places. Endor, Ryloth, Tatooine, Nalhada, Kessel, Dantooine, Dathomir, Ilum. Or Malastare would be another spot for it too, I think. Or maybe Felucia, but that seems kind of a stretch. That would have been right next to the Death Star. All right. Next up, Maydeen running Hit and Run. Hit and Run in Naboo. Interesting. Okay. Probably wants to thin out. Yep. So now at this point, I'm thinking I really don't have a whole lot of time. He's going to be scoring objectives really quick, and I don't have too much time to mess around. So I send Tagge to Naboo for two reasons. One, I'm going to capture Maydeen, or at least I'm going to try to, not because I want to run Homing Beacon anymore, but because I want to get rid of his action card. He's only got one action card left. I feel like if we have a decisive battle, it's going to be a ground battle. He's got Rebel Cell up in Ryloth too. That's the extra objective he drew. So with Rebel Cell in Ryloth, he's going to be scoring every turn until I get there. I could have limped into Geonosis with that one Star Destroyer, but, you know, I don't know. I wasn't ready to commit because I'm not sure the base is up there. And if the base is in, like, Malastare or something like that, I don't want both my Star Destroyers up in Ryloth. So here's a build alliance with Mothma, and he's thinking about Felucia. You know, this is not a build turn. So as an Imperial player, I always like to think, why is the Rebel player playing something there? So, you know, why Kessel? Okay, I don't really want to move to Kessel, but he also knows I like to block Rebel builds. So, you know, if the base was in Kessel, would he want me to find that now? He is running a Rapid. I only have one Star Destroyer, but that doesn't look like a for sure thing. So building an alliance in Kessel makes me think he's probably not in Kessel, and that's the same with thinking about building an alliance in Felucia. So now I'm not too sure. I actually, at this point, I'm fairly certain the base is on Endor. So I'm going to go ahead and move to Felucia, and the reason is I'm thinking about consolidating all my forces in Mandalore in case, and then go to Dathomir and then to Dantooine. I'm not sure what to do with the fleet at Naboo. It's either got to go to Malastare or Rhodia or Tatooine or Ryloth or to Endor, and I'm hoping to draw some useful probes here. The Emperor is going to Cato, and the thought process there is I need to deal with these troops in Corellia, because if they get to Coruscant, you know, I don't know. And I have a ship to deploy in Alderaan, so I'm just trying to, I don't know. I got a lot of places to cover on the map. I'm not sure Cato was a very smart move there, but we'll see. All right. He throws cut supply lines into the Rebel Cell, so Rebel Cell has almost paid for itself. My probes, I drew Cato, which feels terrible. Yeah, no real useful probes with that draw. Although I do get a good hero here. So I could pull up Ozzel, and I consider pulling up Ozzel with proceeding as planned, but I realize I don't have enough turns left to get out a Superstar Destroyer. So I go with Soontir. I need to clear off those rebels in Corellia, and Soontir might be able to do that. So, you know, we'll see. He deploys one X-Wing in Ryloth. Other items to the base. And I'm going to put one... See, I'm thinking about where to put this assault carrier now. And I have it on Dantooine currently, but I'm trying to figure out what to do with Soontir. Whether or not I send Soontir over Ryloth or I send Soontir into Corellia. And I decide I need to send it into Corellia because Heart of the Empire could be terrible. And then I also need that assault carrier in Alderaan to do two things. One, to maybe take back the homeland or to attack Corellia. Or if neither of those happen, my plan was to consolidate everything into Mandalore. So, you know, Alderaan seems like the right pick for that. So I essentially have one big fleet on the left side of the board that's going to consolidate and one on the right side of the board. And I just need to figure out what to do with it. And if you look at the objectives, there's probably 2 to 3 turns left, especially because he's got Rebel Sellout and I have no planetary. And even if I did have planetary, that's a big group of people to get through at Ryloth. So, you know, here I am with my homing beacon again. And then while I'm thinking about that, I'm also thinking, well, the whole reason I captured Maydeen was to prevent him from getting his action card. So I probably should not be running homing beacon here. Yep, there's my homing beacon and Terradroid idea again. I don't know, man. Sometimes I get ideas in my head and then I just can't help myself. Here's the other problem with that. I didn't get a 3 intel leader, so I can't do that efficiently. So my thought is I will run in Terradroid with Boba Fett with Blindside. So that he can't block it. And then I'll run homing beacon and we'll have all the eyes in the world. And somehow I'm not worried about Subversion or Cassian or Leia or I don't know. So that's literally what I'm thinking right now. And then I realize that's a terrible idea. So let's just forget about that. Let's run my gather intel. He draws Lando too for his final leader. So I got Soontir, he got Lando, which means I need to worry about independent operation. So independent operation removes everything from a subjugated system. So for example, if I go after Ryloth, I need to make sure to rule by fear and Geonosis before he builds alliance so that I can not be abused by Lando, which also is why I was thinking about playing Detain. Lando's on a mission, so I was thinking maybe if he's doing something, I can detain him. And then I realized Lando's probably on either his card contingency plan or a rapid, because sometimes he'll do that to prevent Lando from being captured if he's on independent. So I'll go ahead and try my luck with Corellia and Soontir here. To grab the TIE Fighters, I'll grab the one marooned one. I'm going to take another one off of Moncal here with the idea of, you know, I guess I'm thinking I don't want them to, I don't know, who knows. That seems like a weird place to take a TIE Fighter from, but okay. Alright, good thing I don't have my TIE Fighter card either, because I wasted that trying to protect the Death Star. So I will use a red damage card on the Nebulon here, and we'll see how we roll. So X-Wing does 2 damage. I get 1 hit. There we go, 2 more crits. Okay, so I can damage the X-Wing, and I can kill the Nebulon, as long as we don't roll a bunch of heals here. No heals, 1 other damage. So I got 3 ties down. And 3 ties down. He's got a Y-wing left. I'll go ahead and kill it with the Death Star laser. So that combat went really well for me, actually. So that feels pretty good. And I still have a TIE fighter left, which is nice. Okay, that went very well. And now what's left to do is to grab some probes and then rule by fear and then maybe R&D to prep for going after the base. And this move gave me a lot of pause when it happened. It was Lando with a hidden fleet, right? And I picked up on some of it at the time, but not all of it. Because if Lando is running rapid, to me that usually says Lando's got, his independent operation. He doesn't want to get captured, so he's going to hide in the safety of the rebel base. Let's see what I get for my gather intel here. I got Bothaway. Great. Please excuse my dog in the background if you're hearing that. Okay, that wasn't super useful. I didn't think the base was in Bothaway. I would have loved that to have been Endor. All right, but let's go back to Lando. So if Lando runs, and this is for the right move for Lando to run is rapid mobilization if you have independent operation, because you don't want to get Lando captured and miss using independent operation. But Lando's other card, Undercover, is really good as well, because you can play a hidden fleet, pull a fleet out somewhere, then use Undercover to block a mission, and then that leaves your fleet eligible to be moved by one of your two leftover heroes on the map. So I remember thinking, I'll bet he wanted to hidden fleet what I think he wanted to do was hidden fleet in Corellia, right? And we later confirmed that was the primary idea. Now hidden fleeting in Endor is still nice because he can score a crippling blow on Bespin with, if I play something he can block for Undercover. I don't know, but so that makes me think maybe Lando does not have independent operation, and then doing a hidden fleet on Endor, that's kind of making me think maybe his base is not on Endor, which is where I was pretty convinced it was in my head. So, building an alliance in Kessel made me think probably not Kessel, probably not Nal Hutta. Doing a hidden fleet in Endor makes me think, okay, maybe not Endor. So there's Dantooine, Dathomir, Tatooine, Ryloth, Ilum, and Malastare all available. And to me, it didn't seem like putting Rebel Cell on the base seemed like a thing he would do either. So now I'm thinking maybe we're in Malastare. So I put Tagge in Malastare just to have him sit there and wait. And now I'm moving my troops on top of it to see if it's there. And if it is, I can move the rest of my fleet over there. Now again, why Malastare? Well, kind of because I'm thinking maybe he's trying to draw me up north to Rebel Cell and then pull my Star Destroyers away, and then his base is safe. But I don't know. Then Luke sabotages Geonosis, and if you remember, I have both Lure to the Dark Side in my hand and Geonosis as my capture card. And, in thinking about it, and this is interesting, he does a build alliance in Bespin, and then instead of in Geonosis, which also makes me think it's not independent operation. Okay, so I move everything to Geonosis and Maydeen. Now the question is, do you swap Maydeen for Luke Skywalker here and then try to run a Lure to the Dark Side? I don't think so, because, yes, a reputation point helps, but I'm already screwed on reputation. And again, Madine's card is super powerful. So is Lando's. So I'll just keep Madine captured. I'd probably trade Lando for Madine. But we'll see. All right. So 2 people left for blocking missions, and I'm on an R&D and a rule by fear. So I have to basically rule by fear in Geonosis and then try to R&D it. I mean, that's really my only move here. Not sure it'll work, but we'll see. Here's the, if his plan is to use undercover with Lando to block the rule by fear, then he wants to keep somebody in reserve. But now he is actually attacking with Cassian, which I didn't expect that because that seems like not enough troops to attack a bunch of machines. So that's okay. And then I realize he is attacking with the Rebel base. So that actually is super helpful because that means the base is either in Tatooine or in Ryloth. He brings some starfighters from Ryloth, the rest from the hidden base. I've got a pretty formidable army here, though, or navy. Vader's, no joke, right? He's a good pilot. So he will likely open up with the Moncal card, I would think, or maybe the Corvette card. But either way, I need to block hits to try to stay alive because I don't want to lose both my Star Destroyers here. But it's probably the Moncal. Yep, Moncal card, and then the Y-Wing card to do 2 damage. I am blocking 2 hits. So as long as he doesn't roll a ton of crits, then I'll probably survive. Vader's got 4 reds with 2 rerolls, so he should average 1 heal and then a handful of damage. Although this is not a great roll for him, and then his 2 crit rerolls miss, so he does exactly 4 damage on a Star Destroyer and 1 on my Striker. Okay, Vader rolls 2 red heals. And he has the Moncal card, so the red hits will be blocked. But I could always roll more red heals too. So, and all my blacks hit. So I've wiped his... that red hit is blocked. Okay, so we each blocked 1 red hit. I rolled better. And my heals were effective. So my Striker's dead, my Star Destroyer's wounded, and I wiped out his Corvette, which means now he is out of sort of useful cards, and I can play no heal or no card next round, but I decide to go for the kill and say no heal. I'd really like to kill that Moncal. He says no heal as well, so he just needs 2 hits here. Yep, he gets them. Okay, that kills the Star Destroyer. I have 1 Star Destroyer left. And then I can't use those heals, so I have enough to kill the Moncal. Not quite enough to kill the Nebulon. Now, he could retreat here, but if he retreats and I have track them, then that's pretty bad for him because I can do an attack right afterwards. So he decides to stay. That also cycles his Navy cards, which maybe that helps with a Y-Wing or something. But long story short, I kill the Nebulon here. And then, I have a little bit of a decision to make coming up because I've got, let's see, make sure I wipe it here. Yep. Okay. So what do I have on Geonosis? I have 2 AT-ATs, ATST, tank, 2 ATSTs, it looks like. but only one Star Destroyer, and I have Tatooine and Ryloth to check. And Ryloth has a bunch of ground troops, and there's a speeder on the queue, and it's a build turn, and I can't prevent Bothui. And as we'll see here, he may free up Bespin because I am going to rule by fear because I want to get rid of the sabotage. And now he has a choice to make. You know, he plays undercover with Lando, and does he send Leia? He does, because he doesn't want me building there. So that seems right. Now, what else could he have done? He could have tried to block with Lando by himself and probably not succeeded. This didn't succeed anyway. He could have tried to block with Lando by himself, and then when Endor was freed, he could have attacked Bespin, used Hold Them Back. That would have cleared it out, and he could have built another speeder potentially. So now I have a big decision to make, because I can deploy a Star Destroyer, or I could deploy 2 ATSTs. So I have a Star Destroyer, I have 2 ATSTs, I have a TIE Striker, I have basically whatever I want to put on Geonosis. But if you look at the scores right now, because of Rebel Cell hitting again, this is my last turn. Okay. So thankfully, we know he's not on Endor or Dantooine or Dathomir or Nal Hutta or wherever. So I just need to decide what to deploy, and if I think he's on Tatooine, which has 4 speeders in it, or 2 speeders and a couple of other things in it. No, 4 speeders. So if I attack Tatooine and he's not on there, then that's going to be the end of the game. Or if I attack Ryloth and he's not on there, that's also going to be end of the game. But if he is on, so if he's on Tatooine, let's say I go into Tatooine first with a single Stormtrooper and 1 Star Destroyer or whatever, right? That would be enough to hit him again a second time. So, you know, I decide that his ground force with 4 speeders is strong enough where I just need to take a 50-50 shot and have an extra ATST there. You know, that gives me 4 ATSTs, 2 AT-ATs, so that's a full 6 rather than 5 in a tank, which is what I would have if I deployed a second Star Destroyer there. So I don't know if that was the right move or not. You know, is it better to check to be sure? You know, maybe you don't. And if you're going to check, what do you check? Do you check Tatooine or do you check Ryloth? I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I really wasn't sure what to think here. I was actually pretty sure the base was on Tatooine at this point, I think. I'm pretty sure it's on Tatooine. So what I decide to do is I decide to run a single gather intel mission. Okay, I'm going to put, my idea is I was originally going to put Vader and Palps on it together, because that way I have a 3 strength unit of each kind in there. But instead I decide to put Tagge on gather intel because, you know, I've still got his card, and I have a lot of good ground cards that I've played that I'm going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and run, my plan is to run gather intel. Now Chalky initially was debating on attacking with troops from Ryloth and maybe things from the base too, I don't know. And this whole exchange here lasted about 15 minutes of just thinking. So he decided to gather intel, and then I run gather intel with the Emperor and Tagge out on Ryloth. And I'm curious to see if he blocks, and if he blocks with who, right? Because if he blocks with Leia, then Leia is, and the base is there, then Leia's only a 1/1. Now the gather intel actually works, so I get to draw a probe. I'm really hoping it's Tatooine or Ryloth, and it's not. So Okay, then he runs rapid mobilization, and not with Lando either, but with yeah. So he runs rapid mobilization with Riken. I was really worried that was going to be base defenses on first turn. And so then I think to myself, I'm like, well, maybe with Riken doing that, it's a 2 strength that he needs to get into Ryloth because now he can't put Lando there. I don't know. I mean, at some point you just need to guess. And I thought, well, it was going to be super disappointing if I went to Tatooine and he was on Ryloth. So let's just go to Ryloth and see. So I pick Ryloth. The base ends up being on Ryloth. Again, that was like a 15-minute decision there. And now we've got a little bit of a mess on our hands because we've got 4 speeders, 10 troops, and Tagge is there already to meet Vader. So he gets to bring some cards back with him, but the 501st isn't actually very useful for me here, but the other 2 cards definitely are. So the transport's going to die automatically. I'm going to have 3 rerolls. Riken's going to have 2. And then Tagge got me a couple of good combat cards, which I think will be pretty important here. So what's the first card to play here? Because they don't have a shield bunker, I don't need to destroy the shield bunker. So I can flip the combat because he is going to most likely do tow cables. So if he does tow cables, that'll wipe out one of my vehicles, but I'll be able to take advantage of heals and he will not. So I could play Imposing Presence, but I really didn't think there could be any other card that he would play besides tow cables. So I'm just going to flip the combat is what I think. And then even though he's got a full complement of black dice, because I only have red hit points here and everything has 2 or more, yeah, we'll see. All right, so he's rolling first. And he's got some success here, it looks like. 4 hits on an ATST. Or AT-AT. And... Or no, three hits on one. And then I roll pretty good. And again, he's not healing here, and I did, so that feels really good. So that AT-AT lives to fight another day. Severely wounded, and then I've got 2 speeders done, and then 2 extra damage to assign out. And because I'm not particularly worried about the black dice, I just got to kill Vanguards, I think. Just take the sure thing. Okay. So that helps. Now he's down to 2 red dice. I am still at 5 and 5. Had I lost that second AT-AT, I'd be at 4 and 4. Okay, so I play no heal this time. He flips the combat back to me. But anything I roll here is going to be a kill, and that's unfortunate. 2 hits, but 3 rerolls, and 6 blanks. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Like, ugh. All right, I got 2 hits, so I'll take out both of the Vanguards. I really needed a better roll there. But he also needed a better roll here too. Again, he's got black hits, but the black hits aren't doing him a whole lot of good. Okay, he kills the AT-AT, so I got 2 hits, he got 1. All right, I have my ATST card, thanks to Tagge. He is more dangerous than you realize. And I'll take out a speeder. Now, heals are going to be useful for him again here, because we flipped the combat back. All right, this is a nice roll. Obviously. Not a great reroll. But 6 out of 8, or I guess 6 hits out of 10 dice feels pretty good. I'm going to overkill the speeder by 1 for each of them. That means he'll need 2 heals. And honestly, he needs hits with his red dice, not heals. So that feels fine. He doesn't have any vanguards anymore, though, so really killing the speeders was the priority. And he does 4 damage, 2 red hits, 2 crits on the blacks. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm down to 2 ATSTs, and he is down to a handful of black dice. I have Bombard, again, thanks to Tagge. So 2 more damage here. And he's got to get 3 hits, and I have to get some hits. And some heals, maybe. So I'm going to re-roll these 3. Perfect Yahtzee roll right there. 3 hits, 1 heal. Now he's got to do 4 damage. And he does 0 with 1 heal. 1 hit. So he does have 1 troop left, but he just good games at this point. A little bit, I had to gamble on that one. That was that easily, I mean, had the base been in Nalhutta, there was no hope of me pulling that one out. So ended up lucky that the base was in Ryloth, and so was the Rebel Cell. Ended up kind of drawing my forces up in that direction. A little bit of a weird game, but just thought that maybe it'd be good to hear some of the thought processes that go on during this game. So yeah, I'm hoping to get some more videos up in the coming months. Starting to play a little bit more, I think. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to the channel. It's pretty cool to see that. And also I like responding to comments too. So let me know if you think I could have done anything better there. But, props to Tagge for running Gather Intel. That's going to be my new motto going forward. Tagge on Gather Intel. 2 for 2. All right. Thanks, guys.